First. Okay, hi everyone. Happy to see all of you in VODAN Africa and Asia meeting, and welcome back to today's session organized by VODAN Africa. My name is Putu Hadi, and our highlight today, I will copy paste the meeting agenda. So our first agenda will be timeline update, and then followed by certification presentation by Bert, and then followed by evaluation and procedure for feedback, as always, and then followed by business case update, and then Frederick will update about finance, or Professor Miriam will update about finance, and the last two agendas are a special issue, and if you have any other comment or feedback, you can put it on the last agenda of the meeting. So as always, try to keep your mic muted during presentation to prevent background noises. And if you have any question while the presentation is going on, you can type them into the chat box, and I will now hand over to you, Prof. Miriam, to start the meeting. The floor is yours, Prof. Miriam.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get my camera on. Hi, Putu. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all. Well, today I think I'm going to give a very special welcome to Bet, because today he's not just attending as he has done every week since we started this project as one of our most loyal participants, but today also announcing you as a speaker, Bet, and we look forward to your presentation on the certification process. I have a few issues, maybe as sort of announcements, if I may, Putu, at the beginning, so that I also don't forget. We will go to the issue of the evaluation and the procedure for feedback. We'll discuss it here and with Dr. Reginald. Han is here. Welcome, Han. It's good to see you. And he is working on the process around the evaluation and the business case, and it would be good to also update on that. We have that on point 4 here on the agenda. And in line with that, Putu, you are working on an inventory of the VODAN Africa network, because that is an asset. So what we are trying to do at this moment, Han and I and Dr. Francesca, is to make sure that we have really a good inventory of where we have reached, not just in terms of the piloting of the minimum viable product, but also everything around that we have realized. The certification of the product is one of those, and that is what Bet will be talking about, but also any tangible and intangible assets that we have, the expertise, the data stewards, the engagement with the ministries, the communication across the stakeholders, the advisory panel of the doctors, etc., the physicians. So Putu is helping to put that list together with country coordinators and Dr. Reginald. Perhaps we can have a brief update on that, Putu, and maybe you can also show, so that everyone is clear on what we're trying to do there.
Sure, Prof. Miriam. So basically, based on yesterday's discussion, we decide to inventorize all of the person or partner that involving in the project. So I created wait a minute. I created an inventory. Is it only about the VODAN contact list, or any the other one, or both, Prof. Miriam, or only the VODAN contact list? Prof. Miriam?
I didn't understand what you meant.
No, I mean, like the other one is the health facilities list, and which which country coordinator supervise the health facilities. So I have two Excel sheet here.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one is all of the contacts that could be including the health facility data clerks, the health facility directors, the directors of the research institutes, the directors in your own institution, the collaboration with ministry, all of that. But Putu, one thing is that I don't like that this is listed by country. You should list it by country coordinator. So in Ethiopia, we have country coordinator Ethiopia / Dr. Mondimo, and we have Ethiopia / Dr. Araya. And the same in Nigeria, we have Dr. Sakinat, and we have Dr. Ibrahim, so that we have it specific across the country coordinators, the list of contacts.
Yeah, so do you mean like
in your tabs, you have Ethiopia, but it should not be Ethiopia, it should be country coordinator. Here you have, yeah, but why don't you split?
Oh, okay, so I split based on the country coordinator, one Dr. Araya and one Dr. Wandimo.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
And then the same in Nigeria, Dr. Ibrahim. And then the same in Zimbabwe, we have Dr. Bernard, he is here today. And then we have Solidarmet with Kudakwashi Mandese and Ronald Manhibi. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean like, so I will put Dr. Araya here and Dr. Wandimo here. How about that? I mean, like in Ethiopia too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So Ethiopia like 1, Ethiopia 1, you put Dr. Wandimo. Ethiopia 2, you put Dr. Araya.
Okay. Then same with Nigeria then. So I will put like each country coordinator. Yeah.
And also Tunisia. Tunisia is missing. And then also the ones that are associated with the network, like we have Zambia from the VODAN project of Aliyah together with LUMC, and then we also have Burkina Faso. So list those. Also, we have Rwanda, which was they were all in the call that we did with NIH, so that we can really list the whole network. And then you should also include US, China, Netherlands, Europe. Let me ask Han to comment. Han, this is to kind of list the asset of the network. Does this make sense as we are discussing it here?
The way you propose it as on countries, it looks very well. So you change it in that way and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Can I then ask if Dr. Reginald, is this fine for country coordinators?
I think it looks fine. I think the addition is that any persons we have collaborated with, we need to get their contacts in there. So we as country coordinators need to be detailed to the letter to the persons that we have associated with since 2020. I think that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, since the beginning, in the beginning of 2020, we will indicate that too. And then Putu, perhaps you can also do a list, a tab on others, as you have done, I think, and expertise. So which doesn't fit. You have some people, they don't fit in one country and they can then be there. That is also very, very good. Putu, thank you again. You're always so quick to pick up this and that, and it helps us all so much. Dr. Wandimo, welcome. We are just discussing here the inventory of the network that we are doing. I hope it's clear. You people are also here, Dr. Wandimo, so I think you'll be briefed. Any comment on this from anyone, country coordinator or others? Then if not, let me reiterate Yes, I hear somebody wanted to speak. Please go ahead. I don't see a hand. No? Then let me reiterate the timeline that we are working on. Aliyah is not here, but Aliyah messaged us beforehand to apologize and to say that she has almost the bulk input in order. Maybe Samson will speak to that. And so generally we are now deploying the second pilot. And we will be almost done with that. Maybe Mariam can give a update on the templating and the dashboard finalization. And then we are now very much preparing the deployment across the 84 health facilities. With Frederick, we have worked out the finances for all the different countries, Somalia, Addis Ababa, Mekelle, and then all the others. And we are on top of it. It should be sorted out in the next, let's say, 10 days or so. And then we can, and then we'll have all the computers and we'll have the image, and then we can really start the deployment. Who can I give the floor? Maybe Samson first on the bulk inputs. Samson.
Hi, Prof. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
We hear you fine. Welcome.
Yeah. Yes. So what we did with the bulk input is, as per the discussion in the last call, we tried to see all the possibilities on uploading research data, clinical data, and we also looked into the template groups that we had discussed. What we did so far is we finalized the research data and also the clinical data. We also tested that part. And the template groups, we tried to see how it affects on uploading bulk input. But what we can say is that even though we have grouped the templates into different countries for the dashboard, it doesn't have an effect on the bulk input because it is dependent on the templates themselves. Rather, what was challenging was different vocabularies that we used. So as per our discussion with Leah, because we're using control vocabulary that is located in one location, I think we can use that, and we're looking into the standards used. So what's probably remaining is testing it thoroughly and making it easier and user-friendly to the users. We try to make it as simple as possible. And what the other thing that we did is, because it has to be also integrated with the work that was being done by Oluwole and Ezra, we adopted the framework that they are developing with, which is they developed from the past presentation. I learned that they developed it using Laravel. So we redid everything together with G2 and with Laravel. It should be very easy for Ezra or Oluwole or anyone to integrate it, because it's modular, and the modules can simply be added to the modules that Ezra and Oluwole were doing. It's easy. Either we send them and they integrate it, or they send it and we integrate it. Yeah, I think if G2 has to add more, I think G2 may as well speak to this. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Samson. Very clear. G2, please.
Hi, Prof. Thank you. I think Samson has explained most of it. What we have been doing this week. So mostly my part was to integrate the bulk upload to the Laravel, which Oluwele and his team were developing the dashboard on. So so far it's almost done. I think we will be finishing it the coming 3 or 4 days, and we will communicate with Obina and Ezra, and we will try to integrate it with the dashboard as well. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, fantastic. With Oluwole and Ezra and Mariam and Rudoan. Thank you, Getu. Wonderful. Let me give the floor to Mariam and Ezra on the update of the integration of backend and frontend. Mariam?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Prof. Miriam. Well, with regard to the updates, we successfully uploaded the ontologies onto the VODAN portal. And now currently what is being worked on is basically integrating the VODAN portal with the CIDR. So that we're basically able to use the different vocabularies within the templates. And with that regard, maybe I can also give the floor to Ezra. We were actually in a brief meeting today, so maybe he could speak to that.
Thank you. Thanks, Mariam. Wonderful. Ezra, please.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Mariam has said it. We are trying to integrate it's called BioPortal with CIDR, but we had technical challenges, much as Alex pointed out in his instructions. If you've been following the emails he has been exchanging with Oluwole, it's more like a two-step process, but looks like we're running into technical glitches. So Oluwole is in advanced stages of contacting him, possibly to have a Zoom session with him so that he can handhold us through the process. But we have done the biggest part, though the results are not yet desirable, the technical results. So we're a little bit held up by a few technical challenges. The CIDR won't actually connect for now with the BioPortal, despite us following the steps that Alex has put out. So that's where we are, but we're sure it shouldn't be long since we connect till
Okay.
I'm
a little bit confused because I think last week we thought all of that had been resolved. Remember, we had planned a meeting with Mark Mewson. Then Oluwole reported that everything was resolved. So
what he reported was that BioPortal was working, and indeed it is working, and CIDR is also working. What's giving us challenges is the integration of the two currently, so that when you are adding field names or terms in CIDR locally, it can actually pick vocabulary from the remote BioPortal server that was actually fixed last week. So the integration between the two is the one that is currently failing, but I'm sure it won't be long till we figure it out.
Okay, and is it necessary to have an active ability in the in CIDR to pick vocabularies if the templates are pre-made?
It's supposed to happen at a time when the template is being made. I mean, to make it easier, but I'm sure you can still go back and add vocabulary to already existing templates. So it's not like it's supposed to happen at the same time. No.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that in the minimum viable products, we are not preparing templates in the health facility. That would never be, the health facility would not be tasked with that. So
never.
No. I mean, I'm not saying between now and the future forever, but in what we are supposed to be deploying in February, the health facilities do not have a capacity to create templates.
Definitely not. But remember, the goal was that I wanted to achieve standardized names across the dashboard, since we are going to be deploying in different countries. So it is really desirable that we have that working before we deploy.
Yes.
Sure take long.
But has that to do with technical problems between Onto Portal and CEDAR? Localized.
Definitely, they're really technical challenges, but some of the challenges relate to cross-origin restrictions and things like that, but there's always a way around. We just wanted a word from Alex, then we figure out. It shouldn't take long, like I've just said before. Okay,
I think that you've lost me on this, but maybe you can plan a meeting with me today to brief me.
No. Okay, all right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please, Samsung. Okay, too.
Yeah, this is how actually I'm like. I was Ezra. I just wanted to understand the technical part of that.
Okay.
Were you having problems with querying elements?
Is there? Am I allowed to project my screen?
Absolutely. Let me
actually
do this. Sorry. I need to. It is Putu. Putu, can you allow the projection? Oh yeah, you're sharing. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just try to reach our local instance for CEDAR. That is CEDAR. Yep.
Blank from my end, I don't know.
We had lost power. It will take some time getting up, but ideally, I don't know. Okay, so this is from the old instance. I don't want to close this, but every time you search for something, the integrations, because from Alex's instructions, it was all about adding
Ezra, I think your screen is blank.
The screen is blank.
No,
my screen.
No, I see the screen.
Oh, really?
I can see I see find terms in BioPortal.
Yeah, actually. So this is the local instance that's
I cannot see the screen.
Blank from here also.
It's blank, I guess.
I cannot see the
Can
screen.
you reshare the screen?
Okay, I've just stopped the sharing and probably I'll reshare. Yeah. Right now I'm seeing someone's screen actually. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes, you can now.
Yes, now.
So ideally, when you add this is the body mass index field, you're supposed to link it up with probably a vocabulary. You're supposed to search it up here and probably should appear in a drop down or something. They should get listed. But right now what CEDAR does is that it just puts out an alert somewhere here that it can't contact the BioPortal. So this is after following the instructions that Alex put out, that it's just a matter of specifying an environmental variable of the link to the BioPortal server and probably the API key. So we've at least verified that that is properly configured, but just like what you see here. So it can't really establish the connection to the BioPortal. So much as the two servers are working, BioPortal is working, CEDAR is working, but it's just the linkage between the two that is missing. But I'm sure Alex will guide us out through this.
Yeah, and then Ezra, the thing with that, well, from our experience, the Nigerian thing is you also see multiple. So if you find BMI, it will be BMI in multiple. Yes, and I think that was the reason why we now need a VODAN own sort of BioPortal. Because
I think that's what Oluwole has done. We have, is it right?
Yes, we actually have like the VODAN portal with the VODAN ontologies.
Right.
And so basically what Ezra was showing was him trying to retrieve the term, basically the control term from the VODAN portal. And at the moment, it just basically brings up an error.
Okay, I now get.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Now it's clear.
So we're almost there. I'm really sure after a small talk with Alex, he should really guide us where we've gone wrong, probably. And this should be done probably by tomorrow, end of tomorrow, we should be able to query the bioportal. That's if Alex gives us some time.
Yeah, the challenge is clear now.
Yeah, I mean, Ezra, Mariam,
yes.
Mark has been very clear. I communicated that to Olawale, that
right.
any issue, any time of the day, we can bring to his attention and to Alex. So if you can maybe give me an update from day to day, so that we don't keep with hanging issues, because we don't really have the time for that.
All right.
And also that before these meetings, there can be a check-in of the technical team to give an update to Putu and myself, so that we understand where we are, because we have 4 weeks left before full deployment. So we can't lose these kind of weeks.
Oh, okay.
Is that possible?
It's very possible.
Okay, that's much appreciated. Ruudwan, you are making some comments on the repository. Can you do that live here? I'm reading your chat.
Yeah, I just think it will be crucial eventually that we kind of share work in a central location. Otherwise, it's really difficult to keep track and to integrate everything. I think this already said earlier, like months ago, but I think eventually it really needs to be done. Otherwise, we're not gonna come to one solution, I'm afraid. So,
what is the proposal? What is the progress on the server in LIAX, LUMC, and anything else? Mariam, this is under your wings.
For LMC, I don't think it's viable, but the problem is we don't really have any central repository of work. And I think this is first crucially. Usually people work in central repository and they upload other work as they make it. I understand this is not always viable because of upload speeds, etc. I just think eventually we should be able to, everyone should be able to access what is being done. Otherwise, we're not going to come to one solution, and then we're just going to have files all over the world that need to be put together, and I'm not sure how that will be done. So,
okay, we probably need a protocol for that.
Yeah, we need to start thinking about that so we can put everything together.
Yeah, it's not that we have never thought about it. When we started way back, everybody was uploaded in the OSF platform and GitHub.
Yeah, but that is more for code. I don't think that's viable for a big deployment. You just need a cloud platform or some central platform. Usually you use something like AWS S3, but I understand that's quite costly. So we need to start thinking about something where we can reposit like big files. I also need to start thinking about upload speeds because for some teams it may be a bit difficult to upload large files. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so Ruudwan, can you maybe together with Eric Flickenshield, if Eric wouldn't mind that, and Mariam, can you take a lead in this so that we actually get some proposals?
Yeah, but the problem is I don't have, my files are all online, so it's not my issue. I mean, we need other files, and I can't pull them out of Africa, you know, like we need development files eventually. And I mean, I don't mean to hurry or anything, but I've been asking them for over 1 month, and eventually, if we don't have them, we're not going to come to a solution. That's kind of the issue, I think.
I think that the way I understand the issue is that we need to be clear where these are reposited.
No, we know where they're reposited, but we need them all in a central location so everyone can access them. I mean, that's how a development team should work.
Yeah. And what is a central location?
I'm not sure. Like,
but that is
I
what
upload.
No.
Yeah, that's one of the issues. I mean,
Yeah.
usually we use some cloud location. I mean, then everyone has decent upload speeds. So I think maybe a good solution. I mean, in Europe we have good uploads, so that's not an issue. I understand, for example, in Africa, that can be an issue because if we already tested, if we upload to SharePoint, it can take days. So I sympathize with that. Perhaps we can have in Kampala International University, maybe there is some option to upload files there. I'm not sure. This is the issue where I'm at. Like, I'm not sure what the best solution there is.
Yeah, so that is where my proposal is. I see Eric.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Eric.
Yeah, I can see some solutions. I can think we can take this offline, Ruben. There are some services that can help it. I understand this is about big files transferring in, in a certain time. So this is very technical. Let's do this offline.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, sure.
And this is, honestly speaking, also very important as part of the research project of Mariam Basaja. So that is why she can also be into this group, because she's in charge of the documentation of this whole MVP. So,
yeah, I mean, don't need to pressure or anything, but I think it's just really important to eventually do this, like, and not too late, because then we'll all be hurried to patch it together.
Thank you, because I'm running out of time. So let me say, I'm asking Mariam Roudouan together with Eric Flickenshield to come up with a proposal.
Yeah.
So then I move to the next part on the agenda. We will still talk about the evaluation, Dr. Reginald, but I want to make sure that we absolutely have enough time for our key presentation of today, which is by Bert on the certification. So Bert, I'm going to give you the floor. I want to say that in the evaluation, this is a point that I want to address to Dr. Reginald. In the evaluation, there is a lot of conclusions on certification, but it is a different kind of certification. And I think that we need to remove that confusion. To make it clear to you, Bert, in the evaluation, the evaluator speaks about VODAN being used for the certification of e-health products, e-health solutions through verification processes. Of course, that is something very different as the certification that you will speak about. And I want to mention it because I want you also to be very clear that there are two concepts being mixed here at the same time, because the evaluation is being processed and you are processing the certification. So I have sent comments to remove the confusion from the evaluation. I've shared them with Dr. Reginald. And we can share it later with you, but we need to split these two issues. What you will be presenting to us here today is the certification of VODAN Africa as a certified or in the process of being certified approach to a verified data curation, and then in the context of health where we apply it. That was a task that GoFair took on when we started this project together. And you bet you have taken the helm of that with the GoFair Foundation. And we are really grateful to hear your thoughts on this. And we will pick up the issue as it relates to the evaluation later on. Bet, that the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think it's very good, Prof. Miriam, that you indicate that, because yes, there is definitely a difference between these two different things. and what I was talking about. And it can be a little bit confusing because sometimes I also use the term to evaluate something. You evaluate something, or you qualify something, or you certify something. So these terms are often used for multiple things, and it can be confusing with other processes. Yeah, thanks very much for giving me some time to discuss this. Let me try to share my screen also. You can see if that works. It's always nice if that works. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, Bert.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, I think it's good to talk about certification right now, and to talk about all these different aspects, about evaluations, qualifications, and about certifications, because it's important that we have this right. And also that I think at the moment the timing is very good, because what we've seen within VODAN is that we're really moving ahead. Let's say the outroll is great, the deployment is running very well, so it's time now to make the next steps. Now, in terms of, let's say, when we talk about certification and all the aspects of it, I think there are three very important elements, and I will show them here in the top end of the slide. First of all, you do the certification for a reason. It's basically to increase the trust level. And when you look at the trust level, of course, there are always two elements. There's the trust level inside the project, because you want to be absolutely sure that all the participants adhere to certain principles, to certain standards, to certain rules. That is obvious. But also you want to be sure that the trust level is there outside of your project, because when you start to exchange data with other similar projects, you want to be absolutely sure that that can work and that there is trust also outside of your own community. So that's a very important element, inside and outside trust level. And the second thing is, if we talk about certification here, it's important for me that this is not an aspect of a certification body or the GoFair Foundation or the EOSC or anybody else dictating a certain structure to VODAN Africa. For me, it's very important that there's consensus, there's a build-up, and that this certification is actually built from the ground up with all the different participants, a lot also based on the knowledge that we have here with these at least 35 people that we have on this call week after week after week. So it's important that everybody is involved in this. And the third element, which I want to mention, is that certification is not a big bang process, that suddenly it happens. No, it's a step-by-step something. You actually reach certification after you've made a few smaller steps first. And in the second half of the slide, you see what I mean by that. Typically, what can happen is that you start with self-assessment. So you look at the requirements, they can be published in your own project papers, or you find some of that on the website of the GoFair Foundation. It gives certain requirements in terms of how do you set up a good, fair data exchange project. And you do a kind of self-assessment as a team where you say, okay, we're doing this right. We keep the data nicely at the source. We do it as distributed as possible. We do it as machine actionable as possible. All these things that we have been talking about for the last year and a half. So that you could see almost as a self-assessment. Then when you go one step up, and that's the state that we're reaching at this moment, is you can use the word qualification. You try to qualify the project, the VODAN project, against a criteria document. Our good friend Erik Schultes has already built such a criteria document. And it is there where you can actually test or check all these different implementation choices that we have made within VODAN. You test them against a criteria document. And that's where it gets a little bit more solid, a little bit more structured in terms of the certification. Then the third step is that you actually ask externals to start to certify your project. And that can be a certifying body. For instance, here in Holland, we have an institute called NEN. They do certification all over the world for a lot of things and also for projects. And they typically certify against a certification schema. And of course, that certification schema will be largely dependent upon the criteria document that we are all embracing. And so that is the bit of the process that we see. And take into account that also, you know, when you do the qualification, there will be room for experts. Like, you know, on some things you may ask a person like Luis Bonino, for instance, or you may ask Erik Flickenschild or Rudewan to look at certain aspects. And
or maybe Samson or Getu or Francesca.
Samson or absolutely, but you can have some outside people and you can have your internal people. So it's a very nice mixture of people inside the project and people outside of the project. You can look for peer reviews within your project and outside. So there's a nice combination of that. But it's important that it's built up, let's say, from and throughout the project team, the people who are on this call every week. Couple more things on why we are doing this. You see it on the left-hand side. It will make the community stronger. We do it internally as well as externally. It will preserve these FAIR principles that we have been talking about. It will drive convergence also towards other projects. For instance, when you want to exchange data with Sonnenway project or with other projects in the States or with an incentive project or whatever project which has more or less the same ambition as VODAN. And it will assure all these things like as distributed as possible, being in control of your own data, all the things that we have mentioned. And also you want to be absolutely sure that there's no vendor lock-in or supplier lock-in, or that there's one, let's say, element that is a single point of failure or a single point of the support, for instance, that you are too dependent upon that. And so these are all aspects that will actually be worked into that qualification and in the certification. Now, what's important for us, for our project, is that with all the expertise that we have on board, and there's a lot at this moment in our project, that we have to define and articulate and publish all these implementation choices that we have made. So the implementation resources that Mariam just mentioned, you know, when she talked about the ontologies and about the vocabularies that were chosen and the metadata templates, the CDAR templates, all these things need to be articulated and actually published as the implementation choices, the FAIR enabling resources that VODAN is using. And that will be combined in what we call a FAIR implementation profile. Our big friend Erik Schultes is, of course, the mastermind behind this concept of FAIR implementation profiles. And that is a document, that is a list where you actually define exactly what are the choices that we have made. And then on the right side, you see a little bit how that process will work. So there's criteria document, there are requirements and guidelines on different websites. There is the FIP wizard, the Fair Implementation Wizard, which at this moment is being slightly upgraded to also do FIP qualifications. And then that will lead to positive marks on this project. And then you can actually say, you know, fully approved by the GoFair Foundation, but also fully approved by VODAN itself and by the teams and by all the participants. And so then you have this internal and external right sign, this tick in the box basically for all of us. And then you're basically ready to go to any external party to have this confirmed, to have it approved. And you may even go up to an ISO certification if you really want that. Normally it takes a little bit longer and it's quite an expensive process, but it can all be done. Then some of the things that I singled out, because these are obvious candidates then for that process of qualification. For instance, the project architecture. There's already a lot of work done on the architecture. What now needs to be done is it needs to be, let's say, published, put in a nice document, must be reviewed by some peers, some people internally, externally, and then this can actually have a tick in the box. It's the VODAN project architecture. Same for the fair data points. You recall that last year already our friend Luis Benigno had already indicated some steps towards the qualification and later on the certification of these fair data points on the basis of a smart algorithm that could be sent to a fair data point, where that algorithm checks, okay, is it all there? Are all these metadata files there? You know, is it still exactly the same way as it was done when it was first deployed? Yes, 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 yes. Tick in the box. These two things I've mentioned, fair implementation profile and the fair enabling resources, with the help of Erik Schultes and a lot of knowledge that has been built up in this project, we can now start to actually define, articulate, and publish all these implementation choices that we have made. And I put some names of people that could be helpful, and I've indicated some timing there. So what is the immediate next step for this? I think it's a good idea to set up a small task force. And I invite people, if they're interested in this field, to join that. You don't have to do that right on this call. You can do that either through Francisca or directly to me. I put my email address here, but I think it would be good if we would have a nice team of people to take that a few steps further. As I indicate, because it will make the community stronger internally as well as externally. Well, I think that's it. I had a few extra slides as backups to go a little bit more into detail, but looking at the clock, I can maybe do that at a next session. Any questions? Was this clear? And are there any questions at this moment?
Yeah, that was very clear, Bet. And I think that actually it would be very nice to have your other slides as well. Do you want to quickly run them?
I definitely want to run them. And I will share my slides, of course, with our friend Utu. I had two more slides. I had the one about the process of a schema for a fair data point, where you can see that there are a number of steps to actually come to qualification and certification of a fair data point. So that's a little bit more detail. And with Erik Flickenshield also a little bit more detail about the architecture. So these slides can be used very well inside the task force in terms of what needs to be done.
That is wonderful, Bet. Thank you. Let me see if there are any questions, comments, suggestions, please.
Yeah, that can be a very good sign or a very bad sign.
Kahoot says very excellent presentation.
Okay, I see Han. Han is.
Yeah.
Han.
It's good to see you. Han.
You know me quite well.
Yep.
And thanks for your presentation. I especially came in today to hear it. To put it a little bit black and white, you know how I think. Certification has a kind of Western way of thinking. And you and I are the same. We're looking how the South can have more influence on the certification. How do you look at that fact that we get also an African certification instead of constantly from one side to the other one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that's
can you
also
shed your light on it.
Yeah, and that is exactly why I started with one of the few important things, that we do not want to impose, you know, a certain certification upon the VODAN project team, but we really want to build something up from the ground up. I am not 100% familiar with all the certifying institutes that are there in Africa. And that's also why I think it's interesting to have inside the task force one or two people who have some experience with African institutes acting as certifying bodies.
Exactly.
Because that is exactly what we wanted to do. The last thing we want to do is to impose something, almost dictate something out of Holland or out of Europe or whatever. You touch upon a very good point, and that's also why I started with this element that we're really looking for a ground-up process rather than a top-down process. Very good question. Thanks for that, Han. And
I know you're thinking, but I want it more explicitly mentioned.
Yeah. No, thank you for that.
Well, maybe then we can think of discussing this with VC, who is the chair of VODAN Africa, which would also allow us to really reflect on the certification processes that are available within Africa. And perhaps then obviously with Professor Francesca as the executive coordinator, and perhaps Dr. Reginald as the country coordinator, and then anyone who has expertise on this. Kawu, Abdullahi, please.
Yes, Professor Meran, thank you. So just to like contribute to what Han was saying, I think we also need to maybe appreciate that there's something that is also coming from VODAN to the world, which is data steward certification.
Yes.
So it's not exactly that we are also being imposed upon with, I think for us, my personal, perception is that it's first, it will be a learning process when we do this internally. And of course, when the project, say, is certified by NEN, it is a learning process for regulatory authorities in Africa too, to look at and maybe contribute to the conversation and maybe enable that regulation to happen in Africa, in the various countries. So I just see it as, it could start off from Africa as a learning point, but could evolve into something the global North will also learn from, So that's just my point of view.
Yeah, I think that, Kawu, that's a very excellent point, that there needs to be a kind of a logic, as much as VODAN Africa needs to explain the logic of the procedures. we could sort of do the same on the certification, like it can be NEN, but why should it be NEN, right? These are good questions to ask, and maybe it's the best avenue that we have, but let's ask also questions like, should it be this procedure? Do we have an alternative procedure that makes more sense from an African perspective? In fact, we don't really know, and help assist your team bit to do that. I read from the comments that the process of certification is really appreciated, and that the way you propose it as in the different steps is a good one. From VODAN Africa, the expertise needs to be given to also assist in that process. I don't know, Kawu, whether in fact you would have an interest to also support that group on the certification. It's good if you have some people really interested to think how we should do this, and should this be done country by country? Do we have an African continental-wide mechanism? We need to do some groundwork on this.
Yeah, sure, happy to be
Great.
part of that.
Yeah, and then also reflecting on the other point, but that is another point bit, is that Francesca, she has finalized the training modules, which will certify data stewards with fair data curation capabilities. These will be certified in a number of countries. So that is the point that Kawu is raising already, like, yeah, we already have a process there. So how do these processes relate? So it's fantastic that we have this discussion. Very good presentation. I see Reginald writing here as well. Yeah. So I think this is the beginning of a discussion that we will continue, and with the steps that you have proposed, I think we have a good framework with which we can work better. So thank you for that. I am over the clock, and I have a few things to still have on the agenda. Han, can you give a very quick update on the business, the work on the business case, Han, please?
I shall be very short. I want everybody to be aware of the fact that the business case will be based completely on the evaluation. You have to see it, we're looking backwards. What have we done? What are the results? Objectively done by somebody outside who tells us how we are and where we stand. And from that point, we want to look inside the future, and the future is the business case. So the evaluation will be used as a base. It will be done independently. Let's say Core, they did the evaluation independently. They are also a part of it. And on the other hand, Philips, who has a future look, will look into the business case in the sense that some people from Philips, together with you, Miriam, are looking, what's the future for VODAN and how can we go a step ahead already? Mm. And the business case is done already in a sense that we have all the input now, and now the people at Philips are looking at it.
Yeah, but Han, here as process manager, I need to also ask you, how do we organize the involvement of VODAN Africa proper? Because it's true that that groundwork has been done by you to sensitize Philips to the fact that this is a responsibility that they took from the steering committee. But so far we haven't even reported, never mind, have a process from VODAN Africa proper, and that is a problem.
Yeah, you're completely right on that, and that's also maybe my error. So I will get as soon as possible together with Phil. What I saw up till now, it's not ready to be presented already to this crowd, let's say. But the moment it is, I will do so, because people shouldn't think also that a lot of things have been done already, which is not the case. We are really in a preliminary process. But the moment something is there, we have to get feedback from VODAN. And I will look at it and I will discuss it also with Ronald.
I think that what would be good is if we can have, when we have the presentation on the business case here, I think next week we have the evaluation and the week after we have the business case, that then at least we identify the different areas, so that like what KU was just raising, like, yeah, but we already have a whole trajectory around the capacity building, et cetera, so that then the teams here in VODAN Africa can also help you, Han, in connecting that with the work that's actually being done on the ground. And I think it's that bridge that we are lacking at the moment. So that's what we really need to organize.
Sounds very good to me. I will make that bridge.
Okay, good. Then on the finances, Frederick, do you want to speak quickly on the finances for the last period now?
Oh yeah, so on our expenditures, so far so good has been perfect. As we draw towards a conclusion of this phase, all we're just waiting for is our last dispatchment, which will cover a couple of expenditures before we move on to the new phase. Other than that, everything is on course as the way it was planned last year.
Wonderful, and I think you are in touch with Ephraim and with everybody on the follow-up of the financial and contractual arrangements, right?
Yes, I'm in contact. I talked to Ephraim earlier on, and they're expecting some paperwork from me, which I think it's in progress as we speak. Okay, that is brilliant. Thank you. Then I'd quickly like to go to Dr. Reginald on the update of the country coordinators, just briefly, and then we'll close.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor. I think from our meeting yesterday, what was happening is to evaluate where we were with the deployment. They had facilities in our respective countries that we had bought some computers and are doing the test deployment. And now we're moving to the second phase where the other health facilities get support. And this is what Frederick is talking about. And then the other question that came out was the evaluation that now you talked about. And we are trying to see when we can do it. I think we shall discuss and set a plan when we can discuss this evaluation. Other than that, we are okay. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe on the evaluation, I can just ask, since country coordinators are here, you are here, Reginald, Han is here. This is a process management issue as well. It had been decided in the steering committee that the evaluator would have a discussion with all country coordinators, and I don't think that meeting took place. And in fact, there hasn't really been a structured feedback from the VODAN Africa Country Coordinators Board, that is the same, on the evaluation. But the evaluation is planned for discussion here on Tuesday next week. So what would you, Han, Reginald, country coordinators, what would you want us to do? Putu and I, we have arranged for the presentation here next week, but then at least the country coordinators should have been able to finish that process with evaluators. So I'm a little bit unclear, how should we manage that?
So maybe 2 quick points, Professor, then maybe Hans can advise. The first one is that I got an email from Christina that the evaluator is bereaved. So he may not be part of this, but Han can advise us as country coordinators whether we read the report and give him a feedback or how would he like us to do it. That's the question.
Han.
I'm a little bit not confused, but I don't, because the idea was that the evaluator should have done it. Let's say it has not been done partly. So the best thing, or the only thing we can do is next week when we have the presentation, you still should be able to give your comments. That's the only solution I can give.
But why can we not ask core dates? Because I agree with Dr. Reginald that if the evaluator is at this moment bereaved and therefore not able to conduct the final phase of the discharge, we could also move the business case forward and discuss that next week here, and then have the evaluation a week later, so that country coordinators can actually have a proper meeting with the evaluator, because it's a pretty important document.
Okay, now I get it in time. I didn't get the timeline clear. Yeah, it's good with me, but I'm not sure the business case can be done next week. I have to discuss that still, but I will do my best.
Okay, so then Dr. Reginald, maybe the communication to Christina would be coordinated between you and Han, that the proposal is that we give the evaluator enough time and that it can be discussed in 2 weeks' time in the overall meeting, and that gives us time as country coordinators, VODAN Africa Board, to meet with the evaluator when he's ready to do so, so that he doesn't experience the pressure. Then we will move both up with 1 week, and then we will discuss next week the integration of the back end and the front end, which we actually realized today is almost there, but not 100% there. So then I will ask Ezra and Mariam and Olewole to take that on for next week's meeting and to give a presentation on the dashboard from the integrated backend and front end. Is that a reasonable planning?
It's a good plan, Professor. Good plan.
All right.
Yeah.
Ezra.
And get it clear to me then, Miriam. When will be done the business case then?
Business case in 3 weeks' time.
In 3 weeks' time. Okay, now then I'm okay with it also. Perfect.
Evaluation.
Really perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
evaluation in 2 weeks' time. And then Ezra and team next week. Ezra, are you comfortable with that?
Very much, Prof.
Ah, that's good. Then I have done my bit. I have to say thank you, everyone, for being here. I know it's a big task, but I'm so happy. It's the highlight of my week to see everyone, to hear from everyone. It's so important that we stick together as a team. I'd like to thank the Erics for their incredible support. Every time that we hit a hitch, you have a solution. Han for the process management, all of you, Dr. Reginald, everyone for the hard work. With that, I think I can hand over to Putu, and I look forward to meeting you all again in a week's time, and have a very, very good week. Putu, I hand over to you for closing of this meeting.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Miriam. So is there any last question or comment before we close this session? Because it's almost over time.
This is Bert here. I have a small question. If you can send me the chat file, because I cannot find it. So if you could send me the chat file, because there are some people who want to join this task force.
Okay, Bert. I will send you after this meeting.
Yeah.
The chat file. So if there is no comment or feedback anymore, so thanks everyone. As always, the video recording will be uploaded in YouTube, and I will share it on WhatsApp group. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next week on the same meeting. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Bernard. Bye, Eric.
Bye.
Bye.